wait is finally over. Nekyia Corridor opened at midnight last night to throngs of camped-out fans. The 5.3 billion credit juggernaut broke first-day release records, sucking up 2.97 billion credits in 20 Citadel Standard hours. At its core, The Sims about falling in love, losing that love, and trying to get it back, says director Morgan Biercer. It just takes place in one of the most dangerous parts of space, where ancient Asari once believed the souls of the dead went. Turian reviewers have called the FTL impact scene haunting, in light of the volume blast, one saying, "Being in the body of the pilot is gut-wrenching. The cutaway leaves everything to the imagination, and it's just the right move." Human reviews were mixed, one saying, "It harbors a vain hope that the viewer will turn his brain off, while the movie at the same time bends over backwards to stimulate it. The result is adrenaline-charged, but emotionally exhausting." Productivity is taking a hit across Citadel space as the so-called Nekyia flu spreads. "My company gave us the afternoon off," says Berili Tilanas, a Thessian fan of the space epic. "Half of us were dead tired after camping out last night, and the other half didn't come in today, so they gave up." The sim is also proving popular on Solarian worlds.
"Some friends went last night, and they won't stop quoting it,"
said Egyptar, a custodian at Manovai's Itarus University.
"It's showing on all the sim tables at our local theater, so the lineups won't be bad."
Even rear echelon soldiers on Garvug are getting a taste. "They've earned a break," said Captain Andre Classon of Sonax Industries. "Some of our troops have been waiting for this sim longer than they've been enlisted. It reminds people there's a bigger galaxy waiting for us. We screen it 1 hour at a time, though, on account of its length." The reviews continue to pour in for Nekyia Corridor, some offended, but most overawed.
"A sim which can impress both human and Asari audiences is hard enough,"
says columnist Gara Sator of SimsWithGuns.com.
"But Bierster has the insane dream of going after the whole galaxy. From the reaction I saw among Solarian audiences, he might just get it."
Meanwhile, Lucy Tannenbaum of SharpStickInTheEye.com says, "The adventures of the protagonists are so jaw-droppingly extreme that they would be called unbelievable in a holo, except that you know that this is a sim, and some crazy mother actually had to do it. Before the shock wears off, you're willing to believe any hoo-ha the script throws at you." Box office receipts are in, and audiences went to hell and back for the sexy movie with the unsexy name. Nekyia Corridor demolished 4-day records, scooping up a tidy 302 million extra credits from its Earth audiences in North America, who had a 3-day weekend due to a political holiday. Nekyia broke 3 records for single-day takes, and capped the Thursday-Monday streak off at a whopping 13.3 billion credits. Asked if there was any way to increase the hit's profits, director Morgan Bierster said, "I guess we could build more theaters." Meanwhile, back among mortals, the comedy anthology Gagged scooped up 677 million credits. Says producer Scott Hainson, "Yeah, we brought in pretty big audience ourselves during Nekyia's intermission." A meteor strike has delayed the construction of the Zeuskind Super Collider, a particle accelerator being constructed in Trichelon's orbit. The Zeuskind is a type of collider called the Fermitron, and is a centuries-old Asari venture, now funded, named, and built by humans. It's believed the Fermitron hasn't been constructed since the time of the Protheans. Formerly scheduled to come online in September, Earth Standard, the new damage will prolong construction until 2186. When completed, the Zeuskind Collider will be 13,508 kilometers in circumference and will encircle Trikalon completely. The Zeuskind is the largest artificial satellite ever to have human workers, and will be the galaxy's largest building in terms of square meters, surpassing the Volus's hotel-filled Mall of Kwanha. The struggle to contain vital information is a key part of any war, but today it's more difficult than ever. Citizen reporters, aided by cheap concealable technology, such as camera clothing and microsurveillance, can easily cross the line from witness to anti-war activist or spy. "We feed the major media outlets satisfying non-vital info," said Lieutenant Colonel Sanek Servinus. "In return, they tend to stay professional. It's more difficult when a non-combatant plants a microbug on a person or vehicle. Their data goes straight to the anti-war media, and minutes later, the mainstream echoes it. You wouldn't believe the counter-surveillance methods we've had to use." Activist groups like Truth Hacks say the trend won't go away. "Intelligence services and media conglomerates pay for info, and activists just do it because it's right," said one unnamed source. "If you could stop a war with information, if you could kill its support without driving up the costs in lives, wouldn't you be obliged to try?" A dashboard camera video of an improvised explosive device that toppled an infantry fighting vehicle on Tatris has garnered over 560 million extranet hits. 5 servicemen were riding on a C-77 Tyrus vehicle when the explosive, buried in the center of the road, went off. The bomb, made from 2 artillery shells and a detonator, threw the 13-ton vehicle into the air, but failed to pierce its kinetic barriers and armor. The crew escaped with minor injuries and used the Tyrus's isocore to lower its mass and ride the vehicle with the aid of a tow cable and an air car. Asked about the crew's hospital stay, Corporal Cian replied, "We're resting, eating, and buying stock in Armax," referring to the vehicle's manufacturer. The following video has been isolated as potential junk mail or virus-infected message. A safe preview follows. "Attention, attention! This is the voice of Ochinus! The barefaced colonialist forces and their corporate media lackeys are frauds. The age of galactic empires is over. The safe counts are a lie. Civilians are being murdered. Resist at all costs. No application can withstand a fully armed populace. Their casualties are in the thousands. Do not give up. Hope to join the revolution." Error 321. Fatal error. No carrier. The channel you're viewing is unavailable. Try again later. A viral extranet video containing an embedded virus has analysts wondering if Tatrian separatist group Facinus is to blame, or whether the culprit is hierarchy intelligence and psychological operations teams. "Propaganda has come a long way since the days of the leaflet and Axis Sally," says Taylor Joyce, former Alliance PSYOP specialist. "When it comes to the extranet, black propaganda posing as the enemy to put words in their mouths is the order of the day. The hierarchy wants separatists associated with viruses and spam, things you ignore and delete, rather than rational beings with an alternative point of view." Former Hierarchy agent Gradius Iherax is confident the virus is Facinus' work. Any Black Op operation must be performed with a backup plan for when, not if, the truth comes out. If the Hierarchy did this, the loss of their honor and credibility would be tremendous. The op would never get approved. The rate at which Diluvian citizens are capitulating to invading Hierarchy forces is amazing to some observers, but not so to psychological specialists such as Lilira Sikorum. Inasmuch as one can speak of species-wide cultural trends with any accuracy, Turian society is set up to take military orders for communal action. You have an entire population that understands the costs and methods of war. When it becomes clear that the ideological center of a movement is beaten, once the center of gravity goes, Turians readily switch their allegiances to the larger, successful community. In this case, the Hierarchy. This tends to happen only in Turian-on-Turian conflicts, but when it does, it spares both sides the long, bloody guerrilla wars seen so often in many other species' history. There were no surprises on the download charts this weekend. Nekyia Corridor is on its way to becoming the highest grossing sim ever. The long-awaited actioner charmed another 9.1 billion out of audiences galaxy-wide, passing the Asari classic Confederates in adjusted credits. It's absolutely unreal to be at the center of something this big, says director Morgan Bierster. I can only say thank you to the fans for giving me my own Hollywood ending. I thought I was going to have to sell shoes for a living when this was done. In the Giant's Shadow, low-budget holo horror The Phage 2 scooped up 653 million credits by squeezing scares out of a sentient Salarian biowarfare project that dissolves people outright. A-listers are following the Queen of Asari pop in the latest charity trend, adopting Turian children displaced by the Volumblast and subsequent war on Tatris. Between reinventing herself, music genres, and everything else, Ara Tahas adopted 4 children orphaned in the blast. Megastar Delilah Jordan followed suit by adopting a pair of twin boys. And recently, Columbia Rios and her husband took in a whole family of refugees. Said Tahas, I hope it does catch on. There's so much suffering on Tatris right now. It felt like the only moral thing to do. And having one dextro kitchen and one level kitchen is totally not as hard as people make it out to be. Asked for her opinion on the violence of the war, Tahas replied, The Turians have their way of dealing with it. I have mine. A new technology is helping victims of the Volumblast breathe easier, literally. Researchers at University Theorax are attacking the myriad of respiratory diseases caused by inhaling dust around the blast site. Dubbed Medigel for the lungs, the Opulmos device analyzes a patient's tissue or Medicard record before adjusting its virally delivered superdrugs to match the patient's genetic predispositions. After that, the mister sprays the aerosol into the patient's nasal passages, and the drug is absorbed into the lungs. The mister can also deliver microsurgery machines to make non-invasive repairs to tissue, and has a color-coded nozzle at each end with separate agent reservoirs for dextro and levo patients. Said one ER staffer, The effect is incredible. In a year, the whole galaxy will be using these things. Colonialist forces in the Diluvian wildlands on Tatris have surrounded the fortress of Kassatum, believed to be one of the last holdouts of the separatist leadership. The building, built in the early days of the planet's civil wars, is reinforced against most explosives and has hardpoint-grade kinetic barriers to resist mass accelerator attacks. The Separatist group claims it has 24 hostages inside, and in a sign of their increasing desperation, demanded a spaceship to depart the planet. Asked if he would consider the group's demands, General Partenax replied, "We have a negotiation specialist handling that. But I can say giving Facinus access to another FTL craft is quite low on my list of desirable outcomes." The standoff at Cassatum Fortress on Tatris has come to a grisly end. At 0721 local time, colonialist forces dropped a 6-ton thermobaric bomb on the historical fortress with a parachute, slowing its descent so that it would not trigger the kinetic barriers. The bomb was loud enough that even reserve units of the surrounding army were issued hearing protection, and dust if cut by its mushroom cloud became a breathing hazard. Portions of the hardened building were still standing when the smoke cleared, but those inside are presumed dead. The bomb consumed all oxygen in the immediate area, sucking it out of the ventilation ducts before they were melted shut. General Partenax answered critics today over the bombing of the historical Cassatum fortress. The general said that, despite what Facinus' forces claimed, there were no hostages within the fortress. By using miniature duct-crawling drones equipped with an ultrasonic device similar to ground-penetrating radar, the army was able to scan and locate all individuals inside. They deduced from positioning and audio data that none were hostages. Only then was the go-ahead for the bomb given. "We were lucky," the general noted, "but that doesn't take anything away from the skill and preparation of our people on the ground." Turian medical units on Tatris are at the center of a patent controversy tonight. A Volus, claiming to be the inventor of the much-vaunted Eupilmos respiratory device, says his design was appropriated by the Turian military without payment or permission. Similar appropriations have occurred throughout the history of the Turians and their client race. The Volus have extensive patent laws, and the Turians barely recognize the concept. "This inventor should take pride in the success of his product," said colonialist liaison Tertinus Septinus. "Not shake us down for a fee every time it is used. The flat sum we've offered is quite generous." The Eupilmos designer, or Thub, says he's soured forever on the Turian culture. "I thought the Turians had a meritocracy. What's the point if your contributions get brushed off?" Systems Alliance Prime Minister Amul Shastri met with Dalatras Nara on Batal, the first day of the Salarian New Year. Originally marking the end of winter in the southern hemisphere of the Salarian homeworld of Surkesh, Batal was traditionally a time of repaying debts and petitioning favors, and today was no exception. The two spoke about Earth's superconductor supplies, Surkesh's soul-enriching burngrass, and the inflation of the galactic credit. Shastri gave Nara an Arabian horse with implant reins and genetic material cloned from Magnolia, one of George Washington's steeds. In return, Nara, knowing Shastri's love for flying, presented him with a classic Tess Auburn 2166 aircar with guaskin upholstery. A suspicious disappearance on Irun has provoked outrage in the Vol Protectorate, as Aura Thub, the inventor of the Eupolmos respiratory aid, has gone missing. The Volus inventor made news recently by demanding payment for his design, which is in heavy use by the colonialist army on Tatris. Ambassador Din Korlak says the Protectorate wants to believe the best of their Turian allies, but added, "As the Earth clans say, this doesn't pass the smell test." Local law enforcement officers on Irun say their leads are promising, but the disappearance is straining relations between the two species' embassies on the Citadel. This is of great concern to the Tatras war effort. According to one report, Volus-owned companies have supplied more than 60 billion credits of material to colonialist forces, about 45% of the war's public costs so far. Many citizens have returned to life as usual on Belan, but refugee camps are still filled to capacity by those left homeless by the Kingu Command. The Salarian Union has received much praise for their relief efforts, but Belanese government officials claim aid from the Turian hierarchy has dropped sharply since fighting started on Tatras. A hierarchy spokesman responded, "Our people have never set Belan aside. While some of our efforts shifted to Valun after his attack, and needed to remain there in case of further attack, assisting in the rebuilding of Belan always was and remains a priority for Palaven." A mass arrest of over 200 alleged slavers in the Salarian Union city of Agor on the planet Nasern is being credited tonight to Spectre Televazir.
There are cases that can be talked about and ones that can,
said Supervisory Special Agent Yeltsin Sao.
We're pleased to say Miss Wazir, may all her eggs hatch, was instrumental in breaking one of the ringleaders of this operation.
The term breaking may not be entirely figurative. The Batarian in question is recovering in an Agor hospital, with injuries to 3 eyes and several small joint fractures. Wazir herself declined lengthy comment, attributing her success to good intel. The story of Aura Thub, the wronged inventor who vanished under suspicious circumstances, came to a grisly end today, when divers found his body in Irun's Hovita Cove. The waterlogged body had been hacked open in an effort to sink it, a somewhat redundant measure given the low buoyancy of a body in Irun's ammonia-heavy seas. Just prior to the discovery, Thub's widow received a call from kidnappers telling her to bring 500,000 credits to the Dula's bridge. A call that police say must have come after Thub was already dead. Tonight, has the galactic media forgotten the war on Garvug? Corporatist forces have held the colony capital unopposed by state forces for months. Yet still, the Krogan and Vorcha underclass strike back with shooting sprees and skycar bombs. Neither can get close to the fortress-like enclaves where the corporatists have established high security zones for their troops, but it is clear that no civilians are protected, a fact that hurts the corporate bottom line. Incursions into the countryside looking for the elusive Halot Rund have borne little fruit. Still, Sonex Industries' Supreme Commander Lyra Spite is confident. There is a wedge between Vorcha, who will carry out suicide attacks, and the Krogan who will not, she says. Every day we find bodies from their infighting. Their numbers are dwindling, ours are not. Law officers on Irun announced a breakthrough in the case of deceased inventor Ora Thub today. 3 Turian men, 2 dead and 1 alive, were dropped off at a police station, along with personal digital assistants containing evidence about planning Thub's murder. The police are crediting Spectre involvement with bringing the investigation so far forward. Major Lozatad says 2 Turian Spectres handed the alleged criminals in, making it clear they had been pulled off of Tatras to solve this problem. "The message was unmistakable," he said. "Turians and Volus are partners." There's a new development tonight in the quest for justice for the victims of the Vallum blast. Vamires Coron, the pilot who allegedly launched the hypervelocity craft that caused the impact, was found dead in the Diluvian city of Madra. "I got an anonymous tip that there was a body inside. I didn't even recognize him at first," said Private Pharos Riton, who was tasked with house-to-house searching. "I put him on the flatbed and everybody started congratulating me." At a cremato station, the body's genetic structure was compared to Squaron's Medicard record and was confirmed with 99.97% accuracy. The cause of death was determined to be cardiac arrest, an unusual diagnosis in a 41-year-old Turian. Asked if he felt any closure, Riton replied, "Don't worry about me. Worry about the people that lost someone." Citadel Council observers were on hand in the city of Vallum today as hierarchy forces destroyed the captured weaponized FTL plotters found a month ago, Earth Standard, in the Diluvian city of Madra. "These are the symbols of a type of war no civilized galaxy wants, and no civilized galaxy should suffer," said Tatrian Primarch Idus Valen, who was given the honor of detonating the plotters at a bomb range at Fort Urix. Asked if the plotters' creator, Vamires Coron, was the only person with the knowledge and intent to create weapons such as these, Valen seemed to agree but gave a non-committal response. Asked how the plotters represented a type of war different than one involving conventional weapons of mass destruction, such as a dreadnought's main gun, Valen responded, "I'm sorry, but that's all the time we have." A family space tourism flight around the gas giant Arcanes has turned into a nightmare. After an ion engine malfunction, their emergency booster rocket went offline, and the ship was caught in the giant's orbit. Their plaintive distress signal to the Systems Alliance indicates that their orbit is steadily decaying, and that they expect to reach the point of no return in the next 2 hours. The 6 members of the Sorensen family have qualified for unassisted spaceflight, but now those logged hours are being put to the test. A nearby manned Helium-3 station is walking them through a repair procedure for the booster. While viewers everywhere hold their collective breath, the eldest daughter, Crystal, is performing the extravehicular activity needed to make the necessary repairs. The story of the Sorensens, a family whose ship became trapped by the gas giant Arcanis' gravity, has ended with heartbreak. Though the family's daughter Crystal managed to repair the malfunctioning booster rocket in time, she had no time to get used to the pressure differential between the ship and her hastily donned pressure suit. Decompression sickness gradually caused her to become disoriented, and she lost consciousness outside the vehicle. Unable to mount a second EVA to rescue her before the ship reached the point of no return, her mother, Freya, fired the rocket and flew the ship to safety. A ceremony honoring Crystal Sorensen's sacrifice will be held tomorrow on her home planet of Eden Prime. Comedian Cal DeCosimo has issued an apology today for his comments about deceased vacationer Crystal Sorensen. DeCosimo, recorded on a headcam video at a nightclub, said, "You know what's wrong with our news? Hundreds of people are getting exterminated on Tetris every day. And what are our journalists reporting? One rich little human girl who fell down a gravity well." After the comments garnered millions of extranet hits, DeCosimo issued his apology. "My remarks were intended to be pointed at members of the news media, not the family and friends of the deceased. I'm sorry if I hurt anyone in their time of grieving, and I wish to pay my respects to a very heroic young woman who saved the lives of her family." Corporatist forces on Garvug are reeling today, as the Sonax Corporation's command ship Excelsior was destroyed in geosynchronous orbit over the planet. Com traffic at the time of destruction suggests the Excelsior was destroyed by a war bomb hidden in a supply ship's cargo payload. The ship had a crew of several hundred, none of whom are expected to have made it to escape pods after the blast. It is known, however, that Sonax's Supreme Commander Lyra Spite was on another ship doing troop review at the time. A video uploaded from the surface of Garvug minutes later revealed Guerrilla Commander Halot Rund, apparently missing an arm. His statement was brief.
"You humans have an expression. Tag.
The corporatist forces on Garvug struck back against guerrilla positions today, conducting over 150 house-to-house raids and bombing 33 targets in the mountainous regions outside of Dazil. Insiders say most of the gunships flying attack sorties were Guanghui Solutions forces. All but one flight of Sonax ships remain grounded, and Binary Helix only fields logistical support staff. Sonax Supreme Commander Lyra Spite denied rumors of a rift between her corporation and the eco-engineering subsidiaries, saying, "Our command structure is centralized, but our capacity to fight is not. Today is an object lesson in that fact."